You've probably heard that expression, April showers bring May flowers. Well, I really don't think they were talking about mangoes, but here we have it. Flowers just emerging on Graham mango. And you probably can tell there's fruit on there also. Now, the flowering this time of year is rather unusual, but we're seeing it on a lot of varieties of mangoes. And in some cases, not only has there been 2 different flowerings, but 3. So let's take a look around the grove. This is Prom Kymia, and I just started picking the first fruit from this tree about 3 days ago, and we have young flowers on it also. This is Neelam, and we actually have the 3rd flowering on the very top of the tree. First fruit right here are close to being ready. We have the 2nd wave here, and then the flowers up on top. So 3 different flowerings for this tree. So this is one of our Namdak Mai trees, and for this year, this seems fairly typical. We've got a lot of fruit that's almost ready to pick, and then flowers that are just emerging. So of course what this means is we'll get Namdak Mai very soon, and we'll have hopefully another crop in a few months. So here's our little Valencia Pride tree. It seems to be on a dwarfing or semi-dwarfing rootstock, and it set a lot of fruit. We've got far more than it can hold. About 2 per panicle is a good amount. We have some young fruit, and we have some flowers. So this tree is looking great. It's a different story for our big Valencia Pride trees. They didn't set much fruit at all in the early flowering stage, didn't flower much, but now on the very top of the tree and some of the side of the tree, we have flowers emerging. So that's really good news. Of course, the good news sort of ends where picking begins, because all that fruit on the very top of the tree, it's not easy to pick. But at least, hopefully, we'll have a pretty good Valencia Pride crop. This is one of our Tess Pollock trees, and there are flowers all over this side, lots of flowers on the top of the tree. So these flowers are actually the 3rd bloom on this tree for this year. First time it bloomed was early, crazy amount of flowers, and I don't think we got any fruit from that. Possibly 2 fruit, not quite sure. This right here is part of the 2nd crop. We are picking fruit, well, you can't see it from here, but there's fruit that are about this size on several parts of the tree. But we have a lot of flowers right now. Hopefully that turns into a lot of fruit in a couple of months. Tess Pollock is normally a very productive tree, just dripping with fruit some years. So hopefully we'll get a really strong 3rd crop from this tree. So here are a few varieties in pots that are flowering. This is Alampur Banachan. It seems to want to flower a lot, and we have flowers and a young fruit on this other side. This is peach cobbler. We've got flowers on this branch, not on the other branches, and Glen. And here we have flowers and young fruit. But of course what we're really focusing on right now are the plants in the grove. When a fruit develops on potted plants, we generally take that fruit off so that it can grow more leaves. All the energy that the plant produces should be making a bigger plant and not fruit when they're in pots. But out in the grove, our strategy is a little different. We want the fruit. So we have a lot of varieties that have flowered twice and sometimes 3 times this year. Being May, this is unusual to see all of these flowers on the trees. Not every variety is flowering, but there are a lot of varieties that we normally don't see flowers on this time of year. So there are 3 factors that contribute to off-season bloom, and one of those is the variety of the plant. There are certain varieties that just seem to want to bloom all the time, and for us, a lot of those varieties are from Southeast Asia. The Indian types are not as likely to bloom off-season as those Southeast Asian ones. So, these are our Pimseng Mun trees, and unlike a lot of the Southeast Asian varieties, they are not flowering at all at this point in time. Possibly the reason that they're not flowering is that they set a lot of fruit on the first crop. So they are busy growing that first crop and they didn't have any energy for flowering. The second factor is the state of growth of that plant. What is the plant doing? If it is loaded with fruit, it doesn't have any energy to send out new flowers. It's putting all of its resources to that fruit. On the other hand, if it has recently put out a lot of new leaves, it's not going to flower either, because flowers occur on mature tip ends, and if you have young leaves, forget it. Like this would be young leaves, that would never flower, in, well, not for months, but mature leaves, yes. The third factor is weather. What creates the major bloom in our grove is cold weather, and that can occur as early as October, but as late as December and January. Depends on the weather, and in Florida it seems to be unpredictable lately. And what that cold weather does is creates a dormancy for the tree. If it's cold, that tree is going to just shut down, maintain its leaves, but not, start growing anytime soon. But what we've had here recently is a dry spring, and the lack of water can also create a state of dormancy for the trees, especially in this grove, because we really don't water very much at all. We're into minimal use water. So that could also be a factor. So if you're seeing some off-season bloom on your trees, it could be one of those 3 factors. The variety of the tree, of course, the state of growth of that tree, and the weather.